It's time for another rain check. We are joined by Jared Shafran to get an update on the Ontario Reign and how some important key players for the Kings, especially goalie Cal Peterson, are doing for the Kings AHL affiliate. That and a quick preview of tonight's game against the San Jose Sharks on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying this content. I am Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for almost 30 years, the past 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 16 years, and of course, a passionate LA Kings fan for the past 30 years. We are excited to be joined once again by Jared Shafran. He is the manager of communications and content for the Ontario Reign, and he is going to let us know everything that's going on with the Kings AHL affiliate. Jared, I know it's a game day for you. Thank you for making some time for us today.
Sure, Eddie, no problem. Yeah, excited to talk some rain.
I know that the Reign season from afar has been a little bit like the Kings season, up and down, good moments and bad moments. The Kings have kind of gotten on track lately. It seems like the Reign are still trying to find their way. Maybe just a little overview on the season so far to this point.
Sure, yeah, I think that's very fair. The Reign started off the season pretty hot. They won had a good winning streak early on. They were in the top few in the division about a month or two into the season. Just actually came off their longest losing streak. Did win their last game against the Coachella Valley Firebirds, but had lost 7 in a row before that. And, obviously, some games are closer than others. I think a lot of the games during the losing streak were pretty close, but weren't able to get over the hump. I think the offense this year has not been what it has been for the Reign in the past. And I think there's a lot of young players in this Kings system that are learning their way through pro hockey. There is and are some leaders who have taken the reins. And so, a guy like TJ Tynan, who was the MVP of the league last year, is still having a good season. And the defense has been better. The goaltending has been great, as we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a minute. But overall, I think a little underwhelming. 5th place right now in the Pacific Division. The top 7 make the playoffs, so I don't think playoffs is really something that the team's worried about, but I also think that they have high expectations and expect to be higher in the standings.
Well, the last time we spoke, the season had just gotten underway, and there was no way of us knowing that Cal Peterson would be a member of the Ontario Reign the next time that we chatted. But obviously, that's a player that everybody with the Kings is curious to know. The numbers are 5-5, 2.60 goals against average, 918 save percentage. In 10 games, he's allowed a total of 26 goals on 317 shots. He has 1 shutout. I know he did win his last start, the game you mentioned against the Coachella Valley Firebirds, allowed 2 goals on 32 shots. It was a 3-2 shootout win for the Reign. So the numbers are the numbers. You're someone who's gotten to see him up close and personal and can let us know how he's looking. So that's the big question. How has Cal Peterson looked since he's joined the Ontario Reign?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the last time we spoke, and I was saying how great Phoenix Copley was, and I was saying how great the goaltending was. And I think there was no way to know how Phoenix Copley would fare at the next level because he had just had such a low sample size in the NHL in his career, but was for sure that he was a great goaltender in the AHL. And it's awesome to see that, he's not necessarily dominating, but he's winning games, which is great for the Kings. For Cal Peterson, I think that I've really been impressed with the way that he's played. I think the numbers are really accurate. I think that he's giving up about 2.5 goals per game. He has kept the Reign in every single game. He's got a 5-5 record, and those 5 losses, man, I don't think any of them are his fault. There's been some shoddy defensive play in front of him, and there's a couple games where he was flying around, making some great saves. And like I said, I really can't fault him for any of his losses. And in his wins, some of them he's been outstanding. So I think he's been really good. I think he's done everything that you would expect him to do when he came down to the AHL. and what he was doing before when he was in the AHL. I will say, though, again, I mean, 2.6 goals against average, not terrible, but that's, it's not a 1.6. I mean, he's not, I would say that he's been very good at this level. He's put the team in position to win every game, which is great. I definitely think he's gotten some of his confidence back, but I also can say that it's not that he's playing so astronomically well that he's almost basically forcing the Kings to call him back up. I don't know that we're at that point. But again, a lot of it is dictated by the play in front of him. And that was the case with the Kings as well. I think the play from the Kings has improved since he's gotten sent down to Ontario. You look at the defense and the way the Kings have been playing defense, it's really been a lot better over the last couple of months. So you can definitely, that definitely has part of it. But I think from a confidence perspective, I think he definitely had lost his confidence in the NHL. And I think that was clear to everybody who was watching him. And I do think that it's there. He has confidence right now. I don't know how he would be if they call him back up in the NHL, because I don't think anyone would know. But I think right now we're seeing here in Ontario a confident goaltender.
Obviously, it's not where he wants to be. But I don't know how much you can speak to this, but you're around the team. I'm not. So I have to ask you, what's your sense of how he's handled this situation? What's your sense of how his teammates have kind of received him? Has he gone down and kind of taken a bit of a leadership role, being a guy who has NHL experience? Does he seem to be, fitting in a situation that obviously is disappointing for him?
I think that right away he was very much embraced by the locker room. I think that, there's a lot to learn from a guy who's been in the NHL that much already in his career. And I think that a lot of the guys knew him a little bit, from training camp or, somewhere around the TSPC facility. So there was some familiarity. He also played at Notre Dame. Our captain, TJ Tynan, played at Notre Dame. So there's some connections and some ties there. He was actually with the Reign during the AHL All-Star game 2020. And I was talking to TJ about that. He was in that game for the Western Conference. He came here to Ontario and got to meet Cal and play with him there. So there's definitely some ties. Obviously, there's a lot of movement up and down, so guys knew him. He's gotten along great with everybody. I think he has a great attitude. He's come down and, our head coach, Marco Sturm, said it pretty well the other day when he was talking to me after game. He said Cal was upset and more angry and frustrated when he did come down, but he didn't come and show that on a minute by minute basis in the room, or whether it was at practice or during a game. Came here, put his head down, started work, knew that he could get back up to the NHL level, where whether it's going to be with the Kings or somebody else, he's definitely a guy who can and probably will play in the NHL again. And, he was frustrated, which is what you would expect him to be, but he wasn't negatively frustrated and it wasn't, swinging sticks and, getting frustrated, throwing things, none of that kind of stuff. But I think overall in the room, he's a pretty quiet guy. I think he's the leader on the ice because the team knows they can count on him for a save in a close game. He's made some big saves for the team. So they're comfortable playing in front of him. They can count on him as a leader on the ice. I wouldn't say he's a very vocal, outspoken type of a leader in the locker room, but he gets along great with everybody. I think everybody is thrilled to have him because as long as he's here, the team's going to be in, like I said, the team's going to be in every game. Not every AHL team has the luxury of having a goaltender like Cal to go out there every night who, you can win any game that he's playing in. So the teams love having him here. He's been great with everybody. And he definitely isn't thrilled. I mean, he's not coming in with a smile on his face all the time, just happy-go-lucky. I wouldn't consider that the way he's been, but he's been driven, he's been focused, and, he's not in a bad mood, but he's also, he knows there's work to do, and he doesn't want to be here. He wants to be in the NHL.
Another guy who wants to be in the NHL and who is currently with the Kings is Quentin Byfield. He had been recently promoted from the Reign after going there on a kind of a conditioning assignment after an illness. And there is some debate, I think, amongst Kings fans if it's the right place for him at the moment. Of course, the Kings are obviously playing very, very well, and they're in the position of winning games, being in a playoff race, maybe even, getting into the lead in the division. They're certainly right there behind Vegas. And so maybe it's not a place for a guy to be developing. I know that when he was in the AHL, he was doing very well. He was like almost a point per game player, 9 goals, 6 assists in like 10 games, something like that. When he was with Ontario, did you think it was clear that the way he was playing, that he was ready to come back up? Or is this a situation where maybe he still needs some more time in the AHL?
I think that when he's up in the NHL, it's beneficial for him because his skill level is so through the roof that at the AHL level, he's more skilled, he's faster, and he's more talented than almost every player down here. And being around a Kings team right now that's doing a lot of good things, and they're winning some games, and there's some older guys who in the NHL can take him under his wing. I mean, he's playing on a line with Anze Kopitar. Nobody on the Reign is going to come up with the type of leadership and coaching that Anze Kopitar can give you. If you're fitting in on a line with Anze Kopitar, then yeah, you should not be in the AHL because that means you're a top line player on an NHL team. I do think that when he was with Ontario, his consistency was something he needed to improve on. There were some nights where he would score a hat trick. He would be 7-8 shots on goal, winning faceoffs, great on the defensive zone. He was just doing everything right, clearly looking like he was too good. But there were other nights where he wasn't doing all those things, and he was kind of just blending in. And he would still get a couple chances and play on the power play. But I think the Kings at that point were looking for that consistency and saying, man, we for him to really earn that call up, he needs to be more consistent night to night. And that's why I think you saw he stayed in the AHL with the Reign a little longer than, it wasn't just a little bit of a stint after he was ill to get right back into shape. It was a little bit of a, full AHL stint to try to make sure he was playing the right way before he got called up. But I think that ultimately, if he's healthy and he is playing the game the right way and he's got his attitude is great, he should be on the Kings because his talent level is there. And I think at this point, the best way that he's going to get better in the NHL is by playing more games in the NHL. The AHL is a good development route. I think it helped his development a ton. But at this point, if he's healthy with his talent level and the way that he plays the game, he can kind of get by cheating a little bit in the AHL and still get points and still, be an effective player. But in the NHL, obviously, it's a different story. So I think he needs to be up there and get those minutes to learn what it takes to be a full-time NHL player. He's probably graduated from the AHL at this point.
We'll have more with Jared Shafran, Manager of Communications and Content for the Ontario Reign in a moment, but I need to remind you that today's Locked on LA Kings episode is brought to you by BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football, obviously the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend, college and pro basketball, even esports. They've got you covered at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. It is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to BetOnline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. More with Jared Shafran of the Ontario Reign, and I know another player that a lot of Kings fans are interested in to know about how he's doing is forward Alex Turcotte. For those who don't know, Kings first-round pick, 5th overall in 2019, but he's had health issues, most notably 2 concussions last season. As a result, he missed the Kings development camp, rookie camp, training camp, but he is back on the ice now, 17 games, 4 goals and 6 assists. And I guess the most important question is, how is he feeling and just how has he looked so far this season?
I think he's feeling much better. I think he, from all the things that he was dealing with in the offseason and at the start of this season, is pretty much better. I mean, I think it's gone. I think he's back to full go in that respect, but he's not full at 100%. He's missed the last couple games with a lower body injury, completely unrelated to what was going on. And again, I just feel like, man, this guy has such a terrible luck. He got boarded on a very, aggressive hit that was not in the run of play. I mean, it was a penalized hit. All these things that he's had have come off of penalized hits from opponents that have just unfortunately knocked him out. Now, this is, again, a pretty minor thing. Again, you mentioned that it's a game day for the Reign today. He took morning skate this morning. He practiced with the team yesterday before the team traveled to Vegas to play Henderson. And as of this moment, I actually don't know if he's going to be in the lineup. He's pretty much a straight game time decision. I think he took morning skate, see how he would feel, see if he can give it a go. Probably about 50-50 of whether he plays tonight. But if he doesn't play tonight, I would think there's a really good chance he'd be back by the weekend. So definitely nothing to be concerned about long term. I think no major issues. He's almost back. So that's great news for the Reign, because to be honest, after Quentin Byfield was called up, Alex Turcotte, who was playing on Quentin's wing as a left winger during that time over the last couple of weeks, they had a nice line there with Byfield and Tyler Madden along with Turcotte. But once Byfield got called up, Marco Sturm kind of reorganized things, put Alex Turcotte back in the middle as a center. And man, it made a big difference. I think he really responded to the opportunity of being back in the middle. And he has been an outstanding center, two-way center for the Reign. You can see his production numbers since he got moved back in the middle have gone up. He's responsible defensively. He is just a game changer when it comes to both when he's chipping puck. When pucks get chipped in the offensive end, he is just going 150% after the puck. And I mean, maybe that's why he has gotten hurt a few times. He goes all out. He's a fun player to watch. He has so much excitement and energy to his game, and he hunts pucks and he wins pucks both in the offensive end and then on the defensive end too. He's just relentless. And I think actually since he's come back, he's had even more of an edge to his game. I think he realized he needs to protect himself. He needs to stand up for himself. So if somebody hits him, he's right in their face, and definitely a little bit more defensive physically, but definitely been a joy to watch him. I think the biggest challenge for him is, like, I've seen this type of game from him before in the AHL. The biggest challenge has just been to stay out there for a longer period of time. I mean, it seems like every 10, 15 games, something crops up as some kind of an injury. So I think the challenge for him and what fans are looking for is, can he play 40 straight games? Can he really get in there and start to round out and develop his game? Because he has all the raw skills and the tools, but he just hasn't consistently been able to play since he turned pro. And yeah, COVID at the beginning was a little, troublesome. There wasn't as many games, and there's different things like that where the schedule was messed up, but a lot of it's been injury related. So, for the biggest thing for him is just to continue to stay healthy and continue to produce at a high level. I think it was a great sign to see him take that number 2 center spot right back when he got that opportunity. And I think when he gets back in the lineup, that's exactly where Marco Sturm is going to put him when he's healthy. And so we'll see how it goes. But I think, it's exciting to watch him play. It's just got to see that, that consistency, and hopefully he can kind of stay healthy.
Another player who had some issues before the season started was Martin Chromiak, getting ready for his first AHL season. I know he missed the COVID rescheduled World Juniors because of an illness, and then he had an appendectomy right before the season started. Looking at the stats, 14 games, he's got 1 goal and 3 assists, and he just scored his first goal, I believe, in the team's last game. Has it been slow to get him into the lineup, and how's he coming along?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, with a couple guys that came down from LA, they kind of took some spots that were open in the top 6 and the top 9. So some of the games that he's dressed, he's just been on the 4th line. So he's not getting a ton of minutes, which definitely hurts the production. And I just think, it's a big step going from the OHL to the AHL. You're playing against men. He put up some amazing numbers in the OHL, but he's playing with Shane Wright when he was up there, who another guy who, is back in juniors. Has played some time in the NHL and the AHL this year. And I think we have seen some improvement. It's been slow, but you're right. The best game that Chromiak played was on Sunday. He had a breakaway that he had a chance at. Shot was saved, but the penalty shot was called in the play. Made a great move on the penalty shot, but he just missed the net. And I was like, man, it would have been great to see him, score and get that confidence level up. But even having those chances earlier in the game, you could see he's starting to get more confidence, and then he ended up scoring off a nice pass by Nate Thompson. And the great thing about that goal too, obviously, anytime you get your first goal in a new league, that's a huge confidence booster. But I think a lot of his play has been on the outside. Like, he hasn't been able to get into the inside. He's not that big of a player. He needs to learn how he can, at this level, get to the net. And the goal that he scored was from right near the net. So that was really good to see. He's going to have to get to the net to get more chances. He has a great shot. He's playing on the second power play unit. So the team is trying to work his shot in as much as possible. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Arthur Kaliev when he was coming up. Like, the shot is there, but all of the other things on how to get open, how to get your shot through, how to play against men. I mean, it took Arthur a little bit of time, and he was in the AHL his first year, and you saw the progress that he's made. I don't think Chromiak's the same necessarily type of player, but he reminds me a little bit of what Kaliev had to do. Okay, the shot's there. He's a natural scorer, but it's not just going to come automatically. You have to do all these other things really well and play against these bigger, stronger opponents. So I think that's a transition for him. I think being with some older players like Nate Thompson has really helped him. And we're definitely seeing a more confident Martin Chromiak. And as a result, he's receiving some more minutes out there. He's got more playing time. He's been up on the third line. And like I said, on the power play. So I think that's important. I think definitely a work in progress and more of a long-term project. I don't think we're going to see him up with the Kings right away, but definitely got to keep your eye on because he has that skill level and that high talent.
As we close things out here with Jared Shafran of the Ontario Reign, obviously there's some familiar names that Kings fans know about, and Samuel Fagimo. You've mentioned Tyler Madden. I know Elias Anderson's leading the team with 9 goals. Any players that you want to mention that you feel have really had a standout first half of the season for the Ontario Reign?
Well, he's not with the Reign right now, but I mean, I can't stop gushing about Jordan Spence. I think the way that he has elevated his game in all areas, offensively, defensively, power play, penalty kill, different situations. I mean, he's been a complete difference maker in the games that he's played for the Reign. The team has been so much more organized defensively. He has done an excellent job of getting to know Tobias Bjornfoot. The two of them have been as shut down of a number one defensive pair as you can have in the league. And I think he's a great model for other guys. I mean, not everyone else. In fact, nobody has the skill level that he has, especially on the skating side of things. But just to watch him out there is just super fun. He has definitely been the most exciting player on the team this year. And, from a points perspective, last year he was wowing because of the power play numbers with Tynan and Martin Ferk. The power play has been okay. It's middle of the pack. It's not breaking records like it did last year. But he just does so much. He's been everything that you would expect for. So, at this point, every time he gets called up, I'm like, that's it. He's not coming back. He's going to be with the Kings. But obviously the Kings have so many right shot defensemen. He hasn't gotten an opportunity to get in the lineup much with LA. So they want to keep him fresh. They want to keep him developing. So he's been back and played games with us, and we're happy to have him. But, I just think that he is the most ripe defensive prospect that has been with the Reign this year. And I know that when he gets the opportunity in the NHL, he's going to run with it. He is such a good skater, and he learns so quickly, like the way he adapts. So it's going to be really cool to see him succeed at some point in the NHL. So I don't know. I mean, there's some other guys definitely they're taking some steps that are doing some good things with Ontario this year, but he is by far and away the guy who's impressed me the most this season. And he was maybe the most impressive player last year. And that's why I'm so impressed this year, is because he's taken what he learned last year and he's gone way past it. He just keeps getting better every night.
That is Jared Shafran. He is the manager of communications and content for the Ontario Reign. Jared, always a pleasure again. Thanks for joining us on a game day. Best of luck to the Reign tonight, and we'll definitely talk to you and check in again later on in the season.
Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. Thanks, Jared. All right, we're going to preview tonight's game against the San Jose Sharks real quick, but I need to invite you to check out Locked On NHL Prospects. It's your daily podcast covering the next generation of hockey superstars leading up to the NHL Draft. NHL Draft rankings, or you can find there also top prospect comparisons for every team. That is Locked On NHL Prospects, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So the LA Kings will host the San Jose Sharks tonight. Want to give you a quick preview of the game. It is at Crypto.com Arena. Another Pacific Division matchup for the LA Kings, who check in with a record of 24-14-6, second in the Pacific Division. San Jose is at 13-21-8. Only the Ducks have a worse record in the division. LA is 9-2-1 in their last 12 games. That includes back-to-back wins over division opponents in Vegas and Edmonton. San Jose has just 6 wins in their last 21 games. That includes a pair of losses against the LA Kings. Sharks did pick up a win in their last game. That was a 4-2 victory in Arizona on Tuesday. According to friend of the show and LA Kings insider Zach Dooley, Phoenix Copley was the first off the ice at the morning skate today, which means he is expected to start tonight. I'm a bit surprised by that. I thought this was a good place to slot in Jonathan Quick, frankly, against a lesser opponent, trying to get Quick back in net on track. But looks like Todd McClellan is deciding we're going to keep Phoenix Copley in net for now and keep things rolling. So interesting if that ends up being the case. Also, judging by the morning skate, it looks like Alex Edler, the veteran defenseman, is going to play as well. I also thought this was a good spot to get him a rest. And as we mentioned with Jared Shafran, maybe a nice place to insert Jordan Spence in the lineup to get him a little playing time. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We will have to wait and see. But again, Kings against the Sharks tonight. The game is not going to be televised locally. It is a national TV broadcast on TNT. The start time a little bit earlier than normal, not 7:30, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And of course, as always, you can listen to it on the Kings iHeart Audio Network. That's going to do it for today's show. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, we're at Locked On LA Kings, also Instagram at Locked On LA Kings. If you want to send an email on anything that was talked about on this show or anything we've talked about in recent shows, we are going to have a Feedback Friday segment where we answer and read your emails. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE, lockedoneddie@gmail.com. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and beyond the scenes with local experts and insights that only Locked On can provide. That is Locked On Sports Today, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings. Hope you have a great day, great night. Hopefully we talk about a Kings victory coming up tomorrow. And as always, go Kings go.